These new hair products. How did I do this again? Hey everyone, welcome back to Put My Anxiety in Rice. This is episode 4. I've been on a little bit of a hiatus, but I'm still dedicated to diving back into talking about mental health. For this episode, I thought that we would discuss something that's been getting a little bit under my skin. In recent months, there's been a lot of discussion about mental health. I don't think you guys understand how amazing that is. There have been so many people out there using these platforms to discuss mental health. While I love that the topic of mental health is now getting out there are some issues with that. Celebrities and figures have been bravely coming forward to admit some of the suffering that they're going through when it comes to mental health and mental illness. And recently it sparked a huge conversation on social media and the internet. As beautiful as that is, it's also sort of being treated like a trending topic. Unfortunately, the public tends to have a short attention span when it comes to trending topics, especially if they're taboo ones. Of course, mental health has always been an important aspect when it comes to health discussions, but people don't really realize that mental illness has sometimes been left out of that conversation. Recently, depression and anxiety have been considered more of a normalcy amongst society. The hardships we go through are now kind of seeing the light of day and the support system that's out there for those that are suffering. I love seeing that there's so much support for everyone out there and people don't have to feel alone. Those who suffer from issues pertaining to mental illness, however, are not always given that same time of day and attention. Clinical depression is not a trending topic. No one wants to be depressed. Suffering from clinical depression, severe anxiety, and even bipolar disorder and other sorts of mental illnesses are a lifelong battle for those who do have to suffer from them. These days, you might go viral if you admit to having been depressed or suffering from something that brought on a depressive sort of nature. But those with clinical depression and other types of mental illnesses have to face that on the daily without any type of credit or validation. Real clinical depression and other mental illnesses last for life. It's not just present in their lives when it's just a trend, and it's not just there when they're going through simply a hard time. Those who truly suffer from mental illness, they don't just feel it when they experience a loss, a heartbreak, a disappointment, or anything that causes pain in a certain period of time. Symptoms of mental illness can come up just from having a chemical imbalance, or even the medication that you're taking. More or less, it's kind of like a lifestyle. The symptoms can be monitored or managed, but the suffering does not necessarily ever just go away. However, coping mechanisms is what people use as aspects of control. What's truly heartbreaking is that there are so many out there that have to suffer in an environment where they're not welcomed with open arms without judgment. So many are told that they have to suck it up or it's just a phase. It is extremely important to know the difference between someone who simply feels depressed and is actually suffering from a mental illness. Feeling depressed and clinical depression are not always the same thing. You can have no mental illness and suffer depression, and you can also have a mental illness and still feel happy at times. The point of the matter is that everyone needs and deserves support, but those with mental illness may need it just a little bit more sometimes. Just because you come across someone that seems happy and positive doesn't mean that they're not suffering in silence. While the goal for those going through a depressive time is to be happy again, those suffering from mental illness may never see that full light at the end of the tunnel. Either way, happy or sad, up or down, give someone a hug, ask how are you, and make sure you always reach out when you can. Support is the most important thing in this world when it comes to any aspect of mental health. There's no one that deserves to suffer it alone. The word mental illness is not a swear word, and it shouldn't be treated as one either. So let's get past the fads and realize that we should help each other on a consistent level. If you suffer from a mental illness, don't be afraid to share your story. Never be afraid to face the life that is ahead of you. There's support out there for everyone. As always, I'm going to end this video with my Bible verse. Forgive, but don't forget. Girl, keep your head up. Thank you for tuning in to episode 4 of Put My Anxiety in Rice. Peace and love.